All right, we've made it to video number 4. And this is really the conclusion of my conversation with Kevin Darr. And the title of our video today is Christian versus government. There's a Christian way of handling, the Christian organizations, the way they handle dealing with homelessness. And then there's kind of like the government, tax-funded, taxpayer-funded organizations and how they handle government. We're going to be including some links below to a site on Baylor University's website who did a great study. You'll see that in the video as well. And again, I really hope you enjoy the conversation. You've made it this far. Video number 4. Here we go.
Well, and it is, and once again, it goes back to hope.
Yeah.
I think what we do is we give or show them that there is hope to overcome all this, to overcome the generations of addiction or whatever the case may be. Because it's been the same in our organization. We've had, we currently have a father and son in the ministry right now.
Yep.
And it's one of those things where, those cycles can be broken and it doesn't have to continue on. You don't have to continue on just because that's the way you grew up. That doesn't mean you have to stay that way, or doesn't mean you can't better yourself or want something better for the next generation or whatever the case may be. And you can learn, and there are organizations and people that will walk alongside you and help you, mentor you through this whole process, because it goes basically down to one thing that I believe is the answer to all of this, and it's in your name. It's the gospel.
Yeah.
When we come to a relationship with Jesus Christ, all those things change. The moment that I became a Christian, it changed my whole outlook and my morals almost instantly. Whereas, I was a proponent or was in agreement with abortion, that all changed because I understood the sanctity of life.
Yeah.
It all changed about addiction because I understood that there was hope and, that through Christ, all things are possible, and that we could do it. Yeah, we couldn't do it on our own, couldn't change. An addict's an addict for a reason, and it's beyond them. It's more powerful than themselves. But you throw in God and godly people into your life and influences, and all of that can change. It's interesting that these people who are telling you that it's not right, that you require religious services. To me, it's just the opposite. Without the religious services, there's no point in doing what we do. If we're not giving them the gospel, which is the true power to change, or the true power to rescue them out of their addictions and their diseases and whatever the case may be, then there is no point in doing it. I know for us as an organization, that's why early on I decided not to take any government funding or accept insurances or any of that, because it would fundamentally change the mission of our organization. And it's like, no, I'm not going to have any governmental agency or whatever telling us what we can and can't say as far as the gospel goes. Because if we can't preach the gospel and tell them this is the power to change, it's found in the gospel, then there's no point in us doing it. We'd be just like any other shelter or whatever else.
Well, and here's the thing. So, we get criticism on you're forcing a religion on people. I go, well, look, here, one of the two of us is forcing something on the other, okay? And so I'm not forcing it on anybody.
No.
In fact, I've just said we're a Christian program. You're welcome to take part in it. By the way, if people hear this clunking going on in the background, we are in the Gospel Rescue Mission. We're high atop the 3rd floor of the Gospel Rescue Mission, and there's housekeeping going on outside, and the guys just aren't very quiet right now. So you're in mop buckets and stuff like that getting drug around the floor. So pay no attention to the noises in the background. But the other angle is I'm offering this one thing to anybody who wants it. Now, what the low barrier guys want is this. They want to force you, the taxpayer, to pay for their program. They want you, the taxpayer, to pay for their low barrier shelter that doesn't require any religious anything like that. And so who's really getting forced? Because I don't want any more taxes. I mean, it's the one thing we all sit there and go, I pay enough, man. I mean, I am like, you want to know where I stand politically? I am just a hair to the left of taxation equals theft. Okay. It is like, I am really, really close to that. So for me, you're going to take my tax money. First of all, we're already spending tax money on a jillion other things that I disagree with, abortion being one of them.
Absolutely.
I'm tired of my money getting taken to things that I morally find reprehensible. But then at the same time, now you want me to sign off on you taking my money, creating an entire other, it's already a multi-billion-dollar industry, government-funded industry, just on the West Coast alone. Just between LA, San Francisco, Portland and Seattle, you've got over $3 billion a year, maybe $4 billion a year being spent on the homeless thing in government money, your taxes and mine, your tax dollars and mine, getting put into these things. And I don't want any more spent on that. Well, I'd like to see the pothole fixed in my road,
right? And I would challenge any government official to do a cost-benefit analysis of what we do as Christian organizations as compared with money that we get compared to the money that a government agency would throw at a problem. And I guarantee you, if organizations up and down the West Coast had that same $3 or $4 billion that these government agencies did, and they allowed us, just unchained us to do what we do with it, we would. The impact would be huge compared to
you cut homelessness in half.
Exactly.
You'd cut it in half overnight. And,
absolutely.
And the thing is, and the great news is there have been studies done by it. They don't want the studies because here's what it does is it would actually undermine their right to take your money in their mind. I mean, the fact is that Baylor University did a great study. Byron Johnson, he's the author of More God, Less Crime. This is a statistician. This is what this guy does. He works for Baylor University, and he did a great survey on comparing like religious organizations versus non-religious organizations and who did better on solving the problem of homelessness overall. And it was overwhelmingly more favorable to what the religious organizations did. And when they say religious organizations, they don't mean they're not talking about Buddhist and Jewish and Muslim organizations. They're talking about Christian organizations. And we're the ones doing it. And I'm not saying that those places don't exist, that there's not anybody out there that does something like that, but they are so rare. They're the exception and not the rule. But you can't go anywhere in the country and not find a gospel rescue mission, a U-Turn for Christ, a union gospel mission, some kind of gospel something or other related some kind of Christian organization that's doing this kind of work. And because we can do it holistically, because we can do wraparound care, real case management. I listen to people who work for DHS or for some of the other government social services organizations, and they talk about these big caseloads they have. And trust me, they all have big caseloads. But when I ask, well, how often do you actually see these people? And they're like, oh yeah, well, we see them once a month, or we see them, on a real busy person might see them once a week, and I'm going, well, man, our staff sees them from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and then is on the phone to them all hours for the rest of the time. And I mean, we do in-depth, wraparound case management, and we work with all those other organizations, and we try and, you know, support them and try and be a help in all those things. But ultimately, what I want all my residents to do is make so much money that they don't qualify for any of them. You know, I want them to be so successful that they don't need them, they don't qualify for them, and they're just doing well. And they're still getting support on the other side because, well, what did I do? Well, I introduced them to a community of people that is, by their very nature, trying to make the next day better than it was the day before. By their very nature, they see loving their neighbor as a way of worshiping God. And so they just simply, you know, by introducing them to the church, they are introduced to a community that's, you know, it's not perfect, but they're a group of people that are all trying actively to do better in life. And they didn't have those friends when they came here.
No,
you know?
and it only makes sense. You know, if you think about just a couple of verses in the Bible, if we would have followed those, there wouldn't be a need for what we do. First one is to obey your parents. If we would have obeyed our parents, to begin with, you know, a lot of the addiction, et cetera, would be gone. If we were to esteem others above ourselves, you know, but we are such a narcissistic society, and it's all about me, 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 me. And if we were to take our focus off of ourselves and put it on other people and serving something higher than ourselves, that would take care of a lot of the problem too. And you know, it's one of those things where just some of the simple basic tenets of Christianity, you know, are powerful in changing lives.
Yeah.
And, you know, part of the reason why I think, you know, as we were talking about, you know, dollar for dollar what we do as compared to the government, it's part of it is because it is so simple, and, you know, all of the administrative cost is probably, you know, a government ran program as compared to ours, you know, it's probably 95% of the money.
Oh, come on. You can tell me, just between us and the camera, you tell me you don't get PERS?
Retirement, what's that?
Exactly.
No, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So they got this big unfunded liability out there, you know, for the state, and all of that. Whereas we couldn't do that, nor would we want to, because biblically, that's not being wise stewards of what God's given us to minister to these people with. So, yeah, it's just a whole different mindset that we have. Like I said, in the one sense, we require and demand and expect because we know people are capable of something more than where they're in because they were created in the image of God. And secondly, we're held to, in a sense, a higher level of accountability by God because He's placed us in a position where we're going to have to answer to Him for everything that we've been given and all the people that He's brought to us. So the sense of the overarching sense and weight of responsibility for somebody who administers a program like we do, I think is much more than a governmental program because, let's face it, nobody's, you know, the government coined the phrase plausible deniability for a reason, right? Nobody's responsible for anything in the government.
Right,
just look at our politicians.
Yeah. Well, that's just, you know, I mean, that's the funny thing is most of these organizations that are going to be government funded. In fact, I can't think of one that's not, are paid or guaranteed their future grant monies and stuff by how did they spend the last grant monies. And so they've got this idea, this inherent built-in move towards inefficiency rather than efficiency. And then add to that, you know, they're paid by numbers. So, you know, well, you get this much in grant. How many people did you help? And so if you help this many people, you get this much. If you help this many people, you get this much, you know, and let's just make it out to the person. And then we just allot it out to that. So they're going to do this. They're going to keep as many people as they can moving through their program, as many people as they can in there because the numbers are how they get paid. And you know, look, I know that there are people who work in organizations like that that don't have a clue about any of that. They just think they're doing a good deed. They really are what I would call the true believers, in what they're doing in that sense. And, God bless them. I mean, I think that those are good. I think that it's people like that get a really high burnout rate in their organizations because of that, because they see because they are true believers and they see that they're contributing kind of to the problem rather than to the solution. But in yours and mine, I mean, look, U-Turn for Christ is going to be here. I mean, we'd either U-Turn for Christ or the Gospel Rescue Mission, we'd love nothing more than to see homelessness go away. I mean, if I get paid the same if I've got 5 guys in here or if I've got 50 guys in here or 75 guys in here, it all pays me the same. And I don't get paid more if we had a year with, 550 guys or if we had a year with 50 guys.
Right.
It's what I'm looking to do is be the guy that's there when that person says, I don't want to live like this anymore. I want a way out of this. And I've heard that the Gospel Rescue Mission is a place to do that. I've heard that a U-Turn for Christ is a place to do that. And so I want them to come to us. I want to be there for them and be available for them. I want there to be a resource. I want this place to be what I would need had I been in their position. I've always thought about it in those terms. So if I was in their spot, could I build my life out from here? And I do believe that that's what we've created in your organization and in mine. So we'll wrap it up here. Because you and I can talk for hours, and I'll probably come back. In fact, even this one, I'll probably have to break it into 2 parts in some way. That's okay. So let's do this. Let me have you just give a plug for U-Turn for Christ. If somebody was looking to find out more about U-Turn for Christ, maybe they're going, man, that guy really struck some chords with me. I'd like to donate to that guy, or maybe it's like, yeah, I want a place like that. I want to stay at a place like that. How do they get a hold of you?
Well, they could call our main ministry line, which is 541-295-5161, or check us out on our webpage, uturnforchristoregon.com, or our Facebook page under the same name. And, the bottom line with all of this is the thing that I was always drawn to about the ministry that I'm in, and the reason I'm drawn to the Gospel Rescue Mission and what you guys do, is simply that we understand that, as you put it earlier, we're not just a bunch of random cells, that dictate some responses to stimuli, but we understand that we were created in the image of God, and that we want to help people be lifted out of their life situation, out of their poor choices, knowing that God has something so much greater for them, and that through Christ all things are possible. And we're going to love them enough to do the hard work of holding them accountable and helping them to become responsible. And we're going to walk alongside them. We're not going to, if they're doing what they need to do, we'll move mountains to make sure that these people are able to transition from, homelessness or addiction to being a responsible member in society. And, as you gave the story of a restored family, that's what it's all about. I've had the privilege of remarrying a bunch of different couples that, because of, one of the spouse's poor choices, the other spouse had to take a stand and say, I need to protect the kids. I need to protect myself. Ended up divorced, had other guys that were so institutionalized that, they spent 22 out of the last 25 years in prison. And every time life would get too hard, they would do something to go back to prison for a year or so, just to kind of take a break from society and to be able to help them break those chains. It's very powerful. And it's, I know in my personal life, I wouldn't want somebody to make me comfortable in poor decisions that I make. I want somebody to say, you know what, I'm going to help you, or, I want to walk alongside you and help you make better decisions, how to make better decisions, equip you to make better decisions, and I will be there every step of the way. And I really feel that's what the Gospel Rescue Mission does and U-Turn for Christ does. But you're right, it does require, because as we were talking about earlier, for both of our organizations, it does require community support. It requires, because we don't have government block grants. We don't have all this thing. So everything that we do is all funded by people who say, what you do there is what, I wish somebody would have done for my son before he overdosed, or, I wish I would have known about it. And
maybe because you're housing my son. And keeping him from overdosing. Yeah,
exactly. And so, it's one of those things where for us, the financial piece of it's always going to be a struggle. And I don't really care, because we're a ministry. We're not a business to make money. And I'm going to take anybody who walks through the doors, regardless if they have money or don't have money or whatever, and let's be honest, most of the people who come through our doors wouldn't have the ability to pay for our services to begin with.
No, that's exactly right.
So we require, it's one of those things we rely on, people to say, you know what, that's great. We want to help out. And it's... and
at the same time, we try and be productive in our own ways as well.
Absolutely.
We do things like, people go, well, I don't have any money, but I've got some household goods that I can donate to you. And if you can sell it and make something, then you go ahead. You're saving me, a weekend yard sale. I get my weekend back. I'll get the tax write-off for the item, in my from my receipt when I do my taxes at the end of the year, and you guys actually can turn it around and make it into something that works for you, either by getting it directly to somebody in need, or by selling it, at a reasonable price for people who could only afford it at a reasonable price.
Yeah, that's
so those are really cool, because you have the downtown, you have your thrift store downtown, right?
And that's what what we do there is it provides something else too, is for those that have no job history because they've always been on the streets or whatever, we can get them some work experience.
Sure.
So, because it's a lot easier to find a job if you have experience at a job, so we'll provide that at the thrift store. And the other thing that we do is we have a program called Drive Away Addiction, which is similar, where people can donate cars or boats or whatever. Then the men will fix them up, or we'll train them on how to do basic mechanical work on their cars or whatever. So once they're out, they have those skills too. And then we fix those cars up, and then we sell them for support too. So it's kind of like the thrift store, just,
That's very cool. I like it. There's it's what I love about Christian ministries, and especially Christian ministries, when we don't just feed off of the expected handout from the government. What it forces us to do is become creative, and it forces us to solve problems that go beyond just our problem of finance.
Right.
We in fact, what we find is that we can actually find other ways that we can benefit the community and generate income out of the whole thing. And maybe it's not enough to totally self-sustain us, but those things still help us. And what it says to us is we're not looking for just a handout for the sake of a handout. We're willing to contribute and give back to the community ourselves. And ultimately, that's just so important. It's a reframing of the way we understand what is the purpose of our existence. We're not just here. You're taking a person who's been living on the streets, who has really been just living in thinking in terms of it's all about me. Yeah. So it's all about me and what I want and what I need, and I'll beg from other people's stuff, whatever they might give me. But again, it's just for my consumption, and I don't worry about any of the mess that I leave behind, or how I affect the neighborhood or the community, or the cost associated to this community because of my bad choices or any of that kind of stuff. Here, You got two organizations that are really determined to be a blessing to that community and make these guys become and understand the value of becoming a blessing to the community. And that's so important. That's, again, perfect biblical, worldview, as you're thinking of, I think of like Jeremiah 29 when it's saying, to seek the welfare of the city because it's in their welfare that you'll be blessed. It's in their blessing you'll be blessed. And that's so important. Well, all that said, we really have just gotten really good. What I'd like to do is do this more often. And we've got so many topics and so many things we could hit. And I really appreciate you coming on and talking with me. And again, this is with the Gospel Rescue Mission. You can find out about us at grantspassmission.org. You can check out our YouTube channel. You can check out our Facebook page. And if there's something about this that you like, something that strikes a chord, please share it with your friends. Subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. Please hit the like button and subscribe. If there's anything in this that we've said that challenges you or that you disagree with or that really struck a chord and that you thought, man, I never thought about it like that, please leave a comment. We love to hear from you and we want to engage with you in these things. Maybe there's somebody, if you're listening across the country and you're living in a town where they have a program like what we're talking about here and you go, man, we've got a program like that in our community and you want to give a shout out, man, throw a link to their organization in there and in the comments as well. And we'd love to explore that. I'd love to reach out to maybe some of those and maybe we can sit down and talk, and talk shop. Anyways, God bless you. Thank you again for listening and have a great day. Everybody that sets their hand to the plow of trying to take on this topic that we're all struggling with, no matter where you live, is how do we deal with this increasing homeless population? What are we going to do? There are folks on the government side that are certainly trying to do something about it. There are folks on the religious side that are definitely trying to do something about it. And obviously, I'm on the religious side, and I'm a fan of those things. It's all I know. I really think that our programs are great, and Kevin Darr has been a great guest with us in this conversation. So again, thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Would you subscribe to our YouTube channel? Would you hit like? Give us some comments and some feedback. We've got a lot of other videos that are going to start coming up. I've got some resident interviews from our program that just to kind of get their take on what was it like staying here and those kinds of things. So we've got just a whole bunch of more information, other ways and aspects of dealing with homelessness that is effective, because all I'm concerned about is effectively reducing the problem of homelessness in America. I hope that interests you in your community as you're starting to see more tents and more fires, forest fires, and more trash in your waterways and more problems with people that really need help. And we want to be helpful to them. We want to do something that actually affects change. I think that homelessness is meant to be left behind. I think it's not a way that we're intended to live. And I hope that you would agree. And again, if you like it, subscribe, follow us, leave your comments behind below in the comment spot. And thank you for listening. I look forward to sharing more videos with you very soon. Have a great day.